Hello and welcome. My name is Tom Bianchi and I look after marketing here in Europe for Acquia. We're hosting this LinkedIn Live today. We're going to be talking about what makes a digital experience great. Don't worry though, it's not just going to be me talking at the camera, although sometimes I do go on a little bit, so watch out for that. I'm going to be joined by two special guests today. So firstly, I'm joined by Andrew Miller, who's Head of Web Services for the University of Dundee, and I'm also joined by Natalie McLeod, who's Marketing Manager at 15 Below. Andrew, Natalie, welcome. How are you both doing?
Good, thank you.
Doing fine, thanks, Tom.
Great, thank you. Maybe just for our viewers everywhere, you wouldn't mind introducing yourself for a moment. Natalie, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Natalie McLeod, Marketing Manager at 15 Below. So we send passenger notifications on behalf of airlines and other travel brands. So you probably won't have heard of our brand directly, but if you've ever received a e-ticket, boarding pass, cancellation notification, gate change message from the likes of Ryanair or Etihad or Qantas or British Airways, then it will have come through our platform.
Brilliant, thank you for that intro. Andrew, how about you?
Hi folks, I'm Andrew Miller and I'm Head of Web Services at the University of Dundee. We're a university in the kind of east of Scotland, but we're kind of one of the big international players on the top, I think 30 or 40 in the world in terms of universities. I guess in terms of my job, I'm responsible for our web estate and strategy, so that's kind of mainly focused on our corporate website, but also includes hundreds of other smaller sub-sites and other digital marketing initiatives as well.
Brilliant, thank you both for those intros. So we've all experienced good interactions with brands and we've all experienced bad interactions with brands through the digital experiences that they've created. And I think the ones that usually stick in our minds are not the ones that are just okay, not the ones that were, yeah, that was all right. The ones that stick in our minds are usually one or other of these two scenarios. It was either an amazing digital experience or it was a horrible digital experience. So we want to focus more on the former today and a bit more of a positive tone and thinking about what makes a great digital experience. Now, I'm sure as any of our listeners and watchers are thinking about, you're instantly thinking about those experiences that have been great, that you have enjoyed. The other ones that you might not have gone to straight away, but you should think about, are the ones that you don't remember and that you take for granted. Because very often they're actually great digital experiences and they're great because it feels natural and it feels engaging and seamless and easy and frictionless and all of those things, right? So we're going to talk about a few of those topics along the way over the next half an hour or so. There is an opportunity for you to ask any questions, so throw them in the comment box. I can see some people saying hi already. For those of you who have joined the video and you can see some subtitles at the bottom, they're auto-generated subtitles by LinkedIn. If you need to turn them off, hit the CC button at the bottom of the video window and disable them straight away. All right, so let me frame this first question that I've got for our panelists and we'll see if we get some other ones coming in. Over the past year, Acquia has done a number of different surveys with consumers, with marketers, trying to find out people's perception of their own digital experiences and of digital experiences that they've had with different brands. Obviously, the past year and a bit now has been an interesting time, to say the least. But we surveyed people regularly throughout the pandemic, and here's some of the stats that popped out for me. Firstly, 74% of consumers have reported that their digital experience with a brand has changed. So what we've been seeing is brands adapt to the times. We've seen a big shift of people who maybe had a relatively transactional digital experience before, becoming a really engaging digital experience now because they've lost the face-to-face connection with their consumers. We've also seen that 84% of consumers have used digital channels more in 2020, not surprisingly, and 48% of organizations have created more content specifically designed for digital experiences and for customer engagement. Again, no surprises. But why did it take a pandemic to do that? So let's start off with what makes a great digital experience. And so, Andrew, Natalie, I'm going to invite you guys to give me some examples of the great digital experiences that you've seen. Natalie, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. One that really stands out to me, actually, it's a B2B brand. It was an agency that I was looking at the other day, and what I loved about it was that it took me by surprise. It was a really fun journey. Every small touch point, they had thought so hard about their tone of voice, just getting like little Easter eggs in there, you know, like trying to take you by surprise and give you a little something to smile about with each page. There was nothing functional really about it, and that just told me so much about their brand and made me want to look around the site more than I probably would have done on any normal day. And, you know, I sort of now look forward to, like, signed up to their emails and look forward to receiving them to see what they're going to do next. And I've never seen that done before. They must put so much effort into thinking through every single thing that they're doing. And I think it's so easy to think, right, I've got to get something out there, get it done, push it out. But actually, are you doing a brand justice by doing that? We all know probably that we're not, but maybe don't have the time or resource or whatever to think about it further. But actually, when you see someone doing it properly like that, you see the power of it.
Yeah, definitely. And so I presented on a panel in another webinar a couple of weeks ago that was talking about the brand versus demand debate, i.e. do marketers spend too much time focusing on demand generation and not enough time focusing on brand? And of course, the thing that you hinted at there is just that kind of, oh, we'll just get this out the door, it'll be fine.
Yeah, or I'll sort it later.
Yeah, and that comes from that, you know, the demand generation wheel, doesn't it, that we can all get stuck on as a marketer from time to time.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Andrew, what about you? What's a great digital experience that you've experienced firsthand?
I mean, for me, a great digital experience is one that answers a need quickly and efficiently, and doesn't actually get in the way of a user completing their task. So it needs to be something that delivers business benefit, but also something that allows a user to complete their task. I mean, I was just thinking there as Natalie was talking, we sometimes think that great digital experiences need to be these big bang things, these wonderful experiences that are very, very polished. But for me, a very simple, kind of very good digital experience was ordering something off a company where things weren't going quite right. They'd lost the tracking and stuff was going right. And it was a case of going onto the website, chatting to somebody. The chatbot was there, but it became very clear that it couldn't answer my question, so it passed me straight onto a human being. And the human being took the order number and went, okay, I can see it. It's at this place in the journey. It's going to be here. This is what you need to do. And for me, the technology just enabled that human interaction. So in many respects, a great experience, not just a great digital experience, is something that integrates the physical and digital worlds and allows them to complement each other rather than them being seen as something that is separate and neither one kind of touches on the other one. So for me, that's an important aspect of the experience side of things.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've got a really great example. So where I park my car when I come to the office, the multi-story car park is right next to a Starbucks. There are other coffee shops available, some that probably make nicer coffee as well, but I'll leave that for those Starbucks haters out there. But they went from a position a few years ago where their app was horrendous, and they've actually invested a lot of money in it, so kudos to them. So now I get, and I think this is partially the iOS experience, but when I park in the car park, I get a Siri notification that I'm near a Starbucks. So then I get the option to go straight into the app, and I can order my regular coffee right there. And by the time I've gone down the lift and come out the front, my coffee's ready to go, and I can walk to the office with it. The other thing that I can do is if I forget to do that, but I walk past the shop, and there's a massive queue, I can order from the app there and go straight to the pickup zone. They've got that pre-order thing. So that's that blending of the two, right? I'm in a store, but I'm still buying through their e-commerce platform effectively. And I think more and more brands are going to start to pay attention to that fusion, like you said, Andrew, the two things coming together.
I think that balance is so key, because that example you've given is such a positive one. And then you go into somewhere like, that there was that post all over social, wasn't there, recently, about Wetherspoons and their app, and how it's leaving vulnerable people unable to use the app, sat at a table for 20 minutes, and nobody comes to serve them and see if they want a drink, and they can't go to the bar, and they're reliant on people and tables nearby to buy them a drink. Like, you can get it so right, or you can get it so wrong, can't you? And it's the same technology and the same approach, but if you get it slightly wrong and you misjudge your audience, you can really push people away.
Yeah, it's almost that old adage of the customer's always right, in that the customer needs a digital experience to be perfect for them, and you've got to, as a brand, understand what that perfect looks like.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the same for everybody, but you've got to make sure that you cater for your audience, as you said.
Absolutely.
So in some ways, the platform that 15 Below has kind of is a good example of the physical and the digital worlds coming together, Natalie. So could you explain for everyone a little bit about maybe the digital experiences that 15 Below enables for your customers?
Yeah, so it's been really, I mean, the 15 Below platform, one of the USPs has always been that it takes away, so it's an automated platform. We personalize communications to passengers based on like data from 100 different sources. So they have exactly what they need at exactly the right time. And the idea is that it takes the strain off operations teams, so that stuff that doesn't need a human is dealt with automatically, so that then anyone who does need that human interaction is not left waiting in a call queue for hours, or waiting at the airport. And that's more prevalent than ever now, because with millions of flight cancellations all happening at the same time, everyone's trying to ring into the contact centres. People are getting to the airport without the documentation that they need, or the forms that they need to have filled out because they didn't see the email or whatever. And it's putting huge strain on the people, and it's so expensive for the airlines to deal with things that way. And then they've just got a big queue of really cross people that could have been handled so well if they'd proactively sent information via the right channel. So it's similar to what we were just saying about understanding your audience, who they are, how they interact with their phones or devices, and understanding what they need to be sent and when, to avoid them then having to have that human interaction, so that when they have a real issue that couldn't be dealt with through automated notifications, their people are there to be able to handle it properly, and in a human way that doesn't cause stress for the airline and the passenger.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, bizarrely, it seems now, but I used to take 50 or 60 flights a year before the pandemic, right? And so I've had a few of those cancellation texts in the past, but experiencing firsthand, I can say it's been not a lifesaver, but certainly massively convenient to get that text when you know about it. And so the one example that I had was, this is going back a couple of years, I was at a wedding the night before, and I was flying out to the US for work at 7 o'clock the next morning, and it was about 10 o'clock at night. And I had started to slow down on my drinking, because I knew, unlike everybody else, I was up for a 4:30 taxi to the airport. Anyway, I got a text saying my flight had been cancelled, but I also very quickly afterwards got a text saying we booked you on a flight at 10:30. Now, for me, that meant 3 hours more in bed, which meant 3 more pints at the bar. So it made my experience with the airline fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's exactly what it's all about. It's is making it a positive out of a negative.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be stressful, but you have to use those digital channels in the right way. You can't just send someone a text saying your flight's been cancelled, good luck. You know, give them a link to manage their booking, give them their options, allow them to reply by SMS to tell them what you want to do next. And, you know, all of that can be automated. There's no reason why airlines should be leaving people to call up or go on their website and just, you know, hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly. So then maybe switching from one industry that's been impacted heavily by the pandemic to another, Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about what the digital experience at the University of Dundee is like, and how you guys have worked on that over the past sort of 18 months through the pandemic?
Yeah, it's been an interesting old time, and I think where we've kind of pushed things. So we're an international organisation. We bring people from across the world to Dundee, and we sell experiences. You know, we don't sell degrees as such, because you can get that from, you know, any number of online providers. You know, we sell experiences. So the digital experience has to kind of complement that, and a lot of what we try to sell is the physical interactions. You know, actually coming onto campus and sucking knowledge from experts in whatever area. So trying to move into a situation where we're replicating that online or in a digital context has been quite challenging. And I think one of the learning points that we've kind of taken from that is that you don't try to replicate a physical thing in a virtual world like for like, because the two don't always work. So you have to make concessions in different areas and push things in different ways and kind of pull back in other ways, in the anticipation that you can fill it in other ways. There's no one size fits all. I think we've had to do things like open days. You know, so in the past we would welcome thousands of people onto campus, where they would see the lecture theatres and they would meet the lecturers and they would look around the facilities. We've had to transition that into kind of online areas, where we've done a combination of things, from kind of tours, online chats, been able to use things more like Zoom and Teams and other online platforms, starting to use things like UCAS events, where UCAS would be where you would apply to go to university, and there would be big events that would happen. Suddenly having to do those exhibitions online. And then there's a kind of other end of the scale at the university, where you're starting to send people off into the world. So graduations, for example, would be a big thing. They would bring a lot of people into the city. They would be a big revenue generator. And they would also give people a sense of accomplishment, you know, and they would be brand ambassadors for the university. Suddenly all that gets cut. So you need to try and provide digital examples of that. So, you know, we did that over a kind of combination of Zoom and videos and chat, and actually it worked really well, because in some ways our international students are the ones that we like to bring to us, but are sometimes restricted because of travel in any normal year. Suddenly these events start popping up where friends and family can join from wherever they want. They can still see you know, their little boy, little girl crossing a virtual stage and getting their virtual degree certificate and getting, you know, a well done from the principal. And actually it works really well. It's never got quite the same excitement as a physical event and being able to be in with other people, but it has its benefits as well. So I think where we're trying to kind of move to is, you know, we've done kind of 18 months of these things now. What do we keep and what do we get rid of? And some of them worked really well, some of them didn't work really well. But I think what we did was we tried it. I think that's an important lesson as well, that try things. You know, in digital, they're generally quite low cost to try these things, as opposed to putting on a big, massive event. Try them. If they don't work, let's not do it again. But at least let's get into the habit of trying new things and seeing what's possible.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're spot on there, and I'm going to pick up on something that you said there, and that's, you know, as we go forward, what's that going to look like? And I think over the next sort of 12 to 18 months, we're going to see possibly a paradigm shift again, as people try to find their feet, and as brands try to find their feet as to what should our digital experience look like, you know, for the future. And I think it's probably a hybrid. Is that going to be the same at the university?
I think so. Certainly in terms of students coming to the university and getting their learning, I think students have been saying for a long time, they don't get a lot of benefit from sitting in a lecture theatre and listening to someone. There's this whole concept of the flipped classroom, where actually the benefit is the one-to-one tuition or the group sessions, the discussion, the practicals. Actually sitting in a lecture theatre, listen to someone. I can do that at home. I can do that on the bus. I can do it on the train. I don't need to be here. So why are you making me come in here? Actually different types of learners have different types of modes of learning. So actually I'm better at learning in the morning, whereas you might be better learning in the evening. So let's do it at a time that's better for us. So I think a hybrid approach is the way forward, and use the good bits and merge those physical and digital experiences together.
Yeah, nice. I can certainly remember a few lectures where I wasn't completely paying attention. Maybe that's an understatement. I don't know, but I'm a big fan of the hybrid. I think it's a way forward, and a way that not just universities but all brands really need to think about their digital experiences going forward, for sure. So Natalie, what does that look like for 15 Below and the travel industry, perhaps?
Well, yeah, I was just thinking about that and how well that hybrid model has worked for you, Andrew. To be honest, for us, I'm not sure it would work quite so well. We ran a lot of workshops, and we had a customer conference where we'd get all of our customers from around the world to Brighton for 2 or 3 days of content and insights and keynotes, and it was a really great opportunity for our customers to all get together and learn from each other, and for us to share our insights, our knowledge, our experience. And we can certainly do those things online, but we just lose the human element of our brand. That's such a big part for us is the community feel. Sorry about the road noise outside. The community feel is a big part of who we are. Good old Brighton. And if we were to do some of those events online, certainly, it's a nice opportunity for us to share our content and stuff. But certainly we will look forward to being able to reunite our community again and to deliver those workshops and conferences the way that we did before.
Yeah, definitely. So then I think we've got 2 different use cases here, 2 different examples, 2 different industries. And the next topic that we're going to talk about, I'm really interested to see your thoughts on how this impacts them, because they are quite different sectors. So there's been a lot of talk recently about privacy. It started probably a couple of years ago now with the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation that came in as part of the European Union. And I think consumers are becoming more and more savvy about this. And as an individual, I'm certainly very aware of what data I give over to a brand. And it's only when I feel, trust with that brand that I want to share it. But then as somebody who's, a marketer for a brand, I know that when a customer has shared their data and given us trust, we can provide a better digital experience, and we can provide value in return for that data. So one of the things that happened more recently, which has kicked off or at least been the first thing in a chain reaction of other changes in the wider digital industry, was the iOS 14.5 update that came out a few months ago now. Put the power in the hands of the user to say, actually, I don't want that application to know my location or my browsing history or even, other straightforward personal information like my email address. I can now conceal that from the application, and Apple's put privacy in the control of the user. The other thing that's happening is Google is looking to phase out the use of third-party cookies in its Chrome browser. Mozilla has already done that, I think, with Firefox. Now, these seem like really technical things, but ultimately, most brands use a third-party cookie to learn about the behavior of the people engaging with their experience. So as we think about what our future brand digital experience should be for the University of Dundee, for 15 Below and Acquia, how do we think that's going to impact things? And have you got any thoughts and opinion on it? So maybe Andrew, we'll go to you first. What are you thinking about this?
Oh, do you know, I'm quite conflicted about this as well, as to whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. And I think it is a good thing overall. And I think it's a good thing, not from just a kind of personal data point of view, but from trying to get people to think differently about the content they provide and providing value. I think where we struggle the most sometimes is people just saying, just stick that on and people will come. And it's done with very little thought. And we think that we're certainly moving more into personalization and starting to do a lot more of that. And that's kind of where we see the future being able to personalize content for people. But at the same time, it's not a silver bullet. So in the same way that we were able to use GDPR to rein back on a lot of what we thought were bad practices, actually, I think these are things that come in where we can start to rein back on other bad practices and try and force internally, think better about your content, think better about what you want your outcomes to be, think better about how you want to interact with people and what value you want to give them so that they will give you something back. I think the more that we understand that personal data is a commodity that is traded for different things, then the happier that the user will be because they're feeling some benefit from it. You'll get a bit of a brand bounce because they feel that the University of Dundee is giving me something that I need, and that will lead into kind of conversion and actually getting people into the university overall. So I think it will be difficult initially, just as GDPR, just as accessibility regulations was difficult initially. I think it will lead us to a better place in the longer term. We just need to kind of get ahead of that curve and figure out how we do that transition. And it's about changing a culture more than about changing a technology, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a massive cultural shift, not only for individuals sharing their data, but I think for brands. We did another piece of research specific just to the UK here at Acquia, and one of the most surprising things that came out was that over 80% of the marketers that we surveyed, so we surveyed 1,000 consumers and 100 marketers, and we did that at the time that the iOS 14.5 release came out. Out of those marketers, over 80% of them thought that this changed the ability for a user to control what privacy information they're giving was a positive one. And at the time, my first thought as a marketer was, do they know what they're saying yes to? Are they answering this as a consumer rather than answering this as a marketer? Because obviously as a marketer, if we all of a sudden lose third-party cookies and we haven't had this first-party data strategy with a value exchange to build trust around our brand, how do we drive traffic to our website? How do we attract and gain new customers? Because I think digital advertising is probably going to be less effective than it has been. And Google recently pushed back the launch of their cohort-based advertising model until I think 2023 maybe. So there's clearly some built up, what we're going to do now kind of angst, right? I'm very intrigued to see where it goes. Natalie, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on this one.
Yeah, you're right. There's the consumer outlook, and then there's the marketer hat that changes it. As a marketer, it's a shame, but it's not the end of the world, and we will adapt in the same way that when we couldn't track individuals through Google Analytics anymore. It was massive, and now we just get on with it and deal with what we have in front of us, and we use that data to the best of our abilities, and it's been okay. But my main concern is that what each brand has to offer is different, and so when an iOS update comes out that creates a blanket rule, that's so even personally, when that notification comes up on my iPhone, I instantly say don't track. But I don't know what I'm saying no to. because each brand is going to have a different approach to what they're providing and when and how. So I'm just saying no to every brand because the notification makes it feel so ominous. But it's not necessarily the case. Like Andrew was saying, like brands are trying to deliver value. How can we do that if we're just being told no because I don't trust you? Like, but I haven't given you any reason not to trust me. Like the iOS update is telling you not to trust me. So I don't know. I think it's a real shame because I think that consumers are going to miss out on targeted, personalized stuff that actually they would have benefited from.
Yeah, my Starbucks example before wouldn't work anymore, right? If I just blocked Starbucks, it wouldn't know that I was near that location. It wouldn't be able to recommend for me to pre-order my favorite drink because it wouldn't know what my favorite drink is, right? All of those things would stop working. So
if you, as a consumer, have thought, right, I like what I get from Starbucks, so I'm not going to say no to this, that's fine. But I don't think that the average consumer is necessarily going to think like that with each brand where they get that notification up. I think. And
also, if they haven't yet experienced it and they're already being invited, how do they know what they're missing?
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you change that? How do you go back and say, oh no, I missed that, I want it back?
Yeah, it's really, really tricky. So
I think that this is where I think that Natalie's quite spot on here about that kind of ominous feeling. And I think in some ways these kind of cookie notices that we didn't have a lot of all these years ago, but we've now got in front of us all the time. They were there for a good purpose, but actually I think they've worked against us. And you are inclined to say, no, just block everything, because I don't want to go through 1,500 different cookie notices to check on which bits of tracking I want to go for. I just want you to be open and honest about this is what I want you to give me for this piece of information. And in some ways, we as marketers maybe need to take a bit of a responsibility as well, because we tend to try and get round the rules to be able to get the information that we need. And I don't mean that in a bad respect, but we're trying to do a job and we're trying to fulfill a purpose. And this is where people are going, no, I don't think that's maybe quite right. We're going to put this blanket rule in, and we then have to go, blast, right, how else am I going to get round about this and be able to generate this stuff? And it's not a bad thing, because it also generates some ideas about how to do things differently as well. But there's a balance as well.
I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is one of my favorite topics, and I could talk about this for a really long time, but unfortunately we are out of time and it flew by. I want to just say a massive thanks to Andrew and to Natalie for joining us on LinkedIn Live today. This will be available for anybody that missed it, so feel free to like and share if you enjoyed it. And we'll be sure to have one of these sometime soon. But until then, thank you very much and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.